Look, Apollo 11 was not just flying toward the moon. It was moving through a place where every object should have been known. The route was calculated, the speed was calculated, even the discarded parts were being tracked. But then, outside the window, something appeared. At first, the safest explanation was simple. Maybe it was just light reflecting in space, but reflections do not usually make trained astronauts keep looking back. Buzz Aldrin described it as a sizable object, not just a tiny flash. Neil Armstrong looked at it, and it reminded him of an open suitcase. Michael Collins checked through another instrument, and now the shape seemed different. To him, it looked more like a cylinder, or something hollow. So now the problem was not just that something was there. The problem was that the same object refused to look the same. Mission Control had one obvious possibility: the rocket stage separated earlier in the mission. That answer should have ended the story. But Houston's numbers reportedly placed that rocket stage thousands of miles away. And that is when the sighting stopped feeling like a simple misunderstanding. If it was not the tracked rocket stage, then what was keeping pace outside Apollo? A loose spacecraft part? A visual illusion? Or something science had not categorized yet? For years, that moment sat inside old mission language, almost too technical to feel disturbing. But decades later, when the 1972 Apollo 17 records were revisited, another unexplained detail quietly returned. This time, the strange activity was not outside a spacecraft window. It was near the moon itself, where astronauts reported bright particles moving through darkness. One astronaut compared the scene to fireworks, like sparks appearing in the emptiness of space. Then came the detail that made the explanation feel less comfortable. A flashing light appeared, repeating itself far away, as if something was catching attention. NASA later suggested sunlight may have reflected from a tumbling rocket component. That explanation sounds reasonable, until another Apollo 17 image enters the discussion. Even stranger, one Apollo 17 image seems to capture three separate lights arranged too precisely to feel random, not scattered, not drifting apart. Almost positioned, like the formation had some hidden order. And this is where many people begin asking the question NASA seemed careful not to answer directly. Because the unsettling detail is not simply that astronauts saw strange things. It is that every explanation leaves behind one small piece that refuses to fit. Maybe it was equipment. Maybe it was light. Maybe it was something still unnamed. But if the answer was so ordinary, why does the footage still feel unfinished? And if the formation was random, why does it look like something was holding its place? That is why these Apollo files do not close the story. They reopen an older question, one that has followed humanity since the first moon landing. When humans finally reached the moon, were they really alone up there?